Scarlett, let's start with you on gold. I mean, it's been on a decline for like the last 12, 18 months.
It's been on a pretty steady decline, but even when you look at a year-to-date chart, it is pretty remarkable to see this tremendous round trip that gold has taken. It did spike up in mid-March because of the Ukraine-Russian tensions, but then it came back down, and it made another attempt in July, and since then, steady decline, as you mentioned, because of the stronger U.S. dollar. This morning, it's kind of stabilizing a bit here after reaching 1183. 1180 is a critical support level, according to a lot of traders out there.
All right, and we have another correction. Bitcoin was actually down 20% over the weekend.
Right, and actually Bitcoin as well has been declining for almost a year now. I mean, remember, I think it was November, end of November, beginning of December when we hit an all-time high of almost $1,200, and over the weekend it came down to below $300. There's a great video someone posted on YouTube of a big seller getting rid of 30,000 Bitcoins in like 4.5 minutes. So it's interesting to see the price this morning kind of stabilized a little bit. It came back up to around $322, $327, and we do quote Bitcoin now from 3 different sources on the Bloomberg terminal, which is very interesting. But yeah, it's been in a steady decline for the past year. If you look at it though, over the last, in the beginning of 2013, it started off the year for $12, so it still is substantially higher in a different kind of position than gold.
Don't you still have Bitcoin in your e-wallet?
I still have a couple of Bitcoin personally that I hold. I have lost the password to that wallet, so I don't have really any access to them.
When did you buy, by the way?
I bought back in November, back in December. Remember, I lived on Bitcoin for a couple weeks. I did all the Christmas shopping with Bitcoin.
At the high, man.
I spent a lot of it. Yeah, but you know what? I'm not so concerned about the price of Bitcoin. I'm more interested in Bitcoin as a technology, as are investors like Bill Gates, who has been talking a lot about Bitcoin over the last week. And I think a lot of people, even on the upswing, a lot of people in the Bitcoin community would have told you the price wasn't the most important part to them, and that's obviously a different story than gold.
A lot of people are talking about how Bitcoin might be falling because there's talk of regulation. Isn't New York State looking into some regulation?
There's a lot of talk of regulation. First of all, it's selling for a lot of the same reasons that gold has, right? I mean, the Fed is done expanding its balance sheet, and these money printers were the reason that people get into these alternatives to the dollar. The U.S. economy is looking relatively stable. The U.S. dollar continues to climb. Now, that's not going to be a huge factor for most Bitcoin investors. Most of them aren't big institutional guys who are looking at movements of other fiat currencies or even give a lot of respect to these fiat currencies, but some of them obviously have to be paying attention.
So on the gold front, though, Scarlett, I mean, what are people saying about projections?
They're looking for gold to stay below $1,200. We finally crashed below $1,200 on Friday. If you look at Goldman Sachs, HSBC, SocGen, all those forecasts predict for gold to stay below those levels. Goldman Sachs is looking for $1,050 in the next 12 months, down about 12% from the current level. HSBC just cut its forecast by 1/10 to $1,175. SocGen says well below $1,200, and it's exactly what Matt was saying. The market will start pricing a faster rate of interest rate increases because the jobs report, the U.S. economy all seem to indicate that things are okay and there's no sign of inflation.
All right, Scarlett, thank you so much on gold, Scarlett Fu, and also to Matt Miller on Bitcoin and the few that he has in his e-wallet.
Yes, he does not
write down your password, Matt. That's a good lesson.